Our official name is Telpochcalli Dual Language Fine Arts School.
Awesome.
So fine art is embedded into the work that we do here at Telpochcalli. So I am proud to say that all of our students here get exposure to art in through their content also. We're 90% Latinx, 5% African American, and 5% white.
Okay.
So for our community area, we do have a large white percentage of students compared to some of the schools in our community. And we're noticing the changes in our neighborhood, but people are also attracted to the arts integration and to the dual language. So those are two things that our families are really interested in. But at the core of the work that we do here, we know that this school was created for our Spanish-speaking families in this community, as we are the only wall-to-wall, that means pre-K through 8th grade, dual language school in Little Village.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So for Little Village to only have one school that is wall-to-wall dual language pre-K through 8th, I think is a huge disservice that should be addressed by the city. But at the same time, that is a big appeal for families who recognize the importance of keeping your heritage language or recognize the importance of learning another language. It's nothing but benefits. We do have legacy families, which is really, it's something to be like, oh, well, look, Miss Gabby, my mom's in that graduating class from 1990 something, and my uncle's in this one, and I'm down here. And so you start seeing, like they're locating their parents on these pictures in the hallways, and I was like, it's a beautiful thing. And then today, perfect example today, he goes, Miss Gabby, are you still gonna be here if I ever have children? I'm in 8th grade right now. So if I wait 10 more years and then and I was just like, child, I'm like, you will finish college first, but the fact that they're already like, I think I'll send my kids here, Miss Gabby, like we're gonna send our children here. I was like, thank you, but please finish college.
How do you see your staff embracing the arts? How is it engaging within the school community for not just the students, but the faculty, the entire staff taking arts in here?
So it's really great to see staff in terms of projects, assignments, what students are able to present as a way of how they've mastered the curriculum.
Sure.
So it will be, when we have theater, someone will be doing a live, what is it called, when the students dress up as that character that they've learned about and they present and they...
Oh, like a living museum.
A living museum.
Yes.
So we'll do things like that. Others will create art projects to represent what they've learned. So understanding that if you tap into that, students will be creative, and creative is the highest type of Bloom's taxonomy that you could ask a child to do. So asking them to do that, to create something based on the information that you've gained, to demonstrate the knowledge, to demonstrate your mastery of a content, I think that's a beautiful thing. And the fact that our teachers have that in their toolkit of what I could use to assess a student, what I could use to gauge where my student is at, is a really good thing for them. I wish we had more, again, in my utopia.
Yes.
I wish we had more opportunities to provide professional development for my colleagues of new findings in art, various artistic ways that we could, provide these different types of opportunities for our kids. It's like my colleagues who do CAPE, they have those workshops but the ones that don't, that's an area that I also, in my utopia, it will happen.
Speaking into existence.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well.
And that's a great lead in, because of the limitations that you do have with that aspect. Have you had to be extremely creative in, I know you said you have some budgetary aspects, but is it another aspect that you have to do partnerships with other schools, or be able to creatively say, hey, we can find some money in the budget to be able to ensure that a traditional quote unquote homeroom teacher is also doing arts after school if possible, or during school time?
Yeah, so this year, like all schools that partner with KID, we were hit really hard with the fact that this budget was not released at the start of the school year, and we were not able to start our programming until after we came back from winter break. So that was very hard for us, because my budget just doesn't allow me, within the restrictions within that budget, allow me to do any kind of programming. So I had some teachers just volunteering their time. And as beautiful as that is, those teachers have families that they're sacrificing time with their own children to ensure that students are having these experiences. We have our own community-based organization, the Telpochcalli Community Educational Program. So they will help us, like if we need some materials that our budget doesn't allow for, they're really good. Be like, we're able to supply you with these things. What supplies are you needing? And they'll purchase some of those things first. But of course, their budget is also for their programming. So those are just the realities. You know, we're counting on the merciful, always donating hearts of educators to donate their time. But I wish I had other ways to do it, but I'm very dependent on that.
So have the arts helped those newer students to your community be able to be more comfortable in their learning, or opening up in SEL components within the school environment?
So, like schools around our community, in our area, we did receive new arrival students with the situation that was happening, and the language is not a barrier for us because everybody here speaks Spanish, but we did have students who came in speaking Portuguese, and we don't have. But the fact that we could learn through art, right? That it's the work through art that they were working with their partners, collaborating with their peers, and they were still creating. They were still being able to participate. They actually made a short film about Telpochcalli. It's called Artista, by Laura Sanz, and Laura has worked with Cape for many years. It's a beautiful movie. I highly recommend it. It pulls at my heartstrings. We just did a screening for all of our children, and they were in awe that they made a movie about their school and the amazing work around art that we do here. And it's about that. It's as a student who doesn't speak the language, but they realize that they are an artist, and through the arts that they are able to integrate themselves into the classroom.
Having the students having a voice and having pride in their identity, has that helped them to recognize some of the things that are going on now, and how to be able to articulate how they feel about it?
Well, I'll share the first time the current individual got elected into office. That was a huge shock to our community when that happened. My child was an 8th grader here, and the conversations that we had to have around what does that mean for my family, because of all the stereotypical comments the hateful comments that were being said at that time. When this section, it was, I think it even hit us worse, because we just could not believe that, knowing what we knew about this, that it would happen again. So we had a lot of families not come to school. So it was very hard, you know, that because that fear was in them, and especially with everything happening around ICE.
Yes.
Having families stay away, and they were fearful, and even that changed our protocols of who allows people into the building. What is our process now in allowing people into the building? How do we reassure our families that we are taking every possible step here to make sure their children are safe? And then educating our students of what their rights are. You know, it's like that is the most important part. Like here, like, yes, this is what's happening. Here are our rights, and here's how we're gonna help you. Here is how others, who are the helpers? There's always people working to do good in this world.
And the arts becomes that place of, it's okay to say it.
Yes.
And if you can't articulate saying it with your words, you can try.
There's a song that could definitely that could speak to whatever it is you're feeling. You could find a song and be like, this is what I feel right now. And one of our math teachers, I know she does a lot of protest music. So how is this song tying back to whatever the struggle is that they were trying to draw attention to? And she uses math to incorporate that. It's like, now let's look at the math that goes along with this. And so it's embedding the arts into everything.
I am a huge cross-curricular component aspect. I'm like, where can we find connections and allow the students to be able to feel connected to that aspect? Because you have those students who are extremely gifted in a subject like math, and then they may not feel the value, like, I don't see how this is going to work for me musically, or I can't see it in visual art form. But then all of a sudden you make that connection, and they're like, oh, So you mean to tell me if I just add it up this way, if I do it this way, like those connections
Yeah,
are
it just
extremely
makes
valuable?
sense, and you would have never thought that that's all it would take for them to make that connection.
Yes.
So you're just using every avenue available to you, and we're using the arts to make sure that we're providing them every opportunity to make connections with the content that they're being taught.
Absolutely.
So I will take pride in saying that in our network, we have the highest cultivate data. So for a sense of belonging, we score in the 90s from students. So all of our components are in green. Like teachers feel welcomed and valued here. Students want to be here. So when we talk about the data, yes, the data does demonstrate that my children want to be here and that they feel supported here. So I like to be here. They like to be here. So I have a very low transition rate between staff. I've been here for 15 years. I have colleagues who've been here over 20 years.
I don't know if this is a good way to kind of tie this all together, but that's again how you use the arts to cultivate this entire, what's the best word to use? Not just community, because we've been saying that often, but just culture. You've cultivated a culture here centered around the arts that has allowed for connectivity to traditional class environments, to build a sense of familiar structure, welcoming community, and then that people want to be here.
Creating art creates community. Creating art is a sharing of ideas, getting to know someone on a different level. So it allows for all that to flow freely inside of the classroom. So I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to provide a space and an environment that does that, and a working environment for colleagues to do that also. So yes, the arts is very important to the work that we do here. And another component is art that is culturally sustaining also.
Yes.
So how is the art that my students doing reflective of their culture? How is the art that my students are producing elevating pride in their community, in their family experiences, in their own lived experiences? So it becomes part of that. That's that other SEL component.
Yeah.
How is the work reflective of who they are? How is the work giving them agency to express themselves, to take ownership of what's happening around them? So it's all of that incorporated into the work that we're doing.
That is absolutely awesome. I'm so grateful that you're sharing this time with us and giving us this opportunity to engage with you. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for visiting my little tiny utopia in Little Village. I really do love it here. We're small, we're mighty, but I think it's a magical space.